separated your deep ball from everybody else?
My deep ball, it has a little secret sauce to it, man.
Never get too high, never get too low, but just keep moving.
The whole story is Carlos never beat me in any kind of sports in high school.
Welcome to the Orange is the New Black podcast. I'm your host, Ace Boogie, joined by my co-host, Zim. Zim, say what's up.
Whoo! Dang.
Yes, sir.
Whatever bit last of my voice that I still have, I'm going to give it to you all tonight on this show. I am so happy right now. Ace, how do you feel watching that?
I mean, I'm just going to keep it real. I mean, we both were on cloud nine. I think after watching that, this team feels different. The feeling is different. Everything about it is different. And I think that right there, even though we had a little bit last year, I think that this is really the beginning of the Joe Burrow Bengals era. I think that officially kicked it off. I think everybody in the city right now felt like we deserve this. This is what we've been waiting for. This is what the offseason and the draft and free agency all culminated into. And I think this is what we wanted to see going forward. We saw hints of it in the preseason. We really didn't get to see much, to be honest with you. Obviously only seeing Joe Burrow for 3 plays. But this is what we thought could potentially happen with adding a Jamar Chase, improving the defensive line, improving the offensive line, improving the play calling season to season, getting Jim Turner out, bringing Frank Pollock in, getting Marion Hobby in. These were things that we kind of saw that if they go right, this team can be completely different and will not be reminiscent of the 4-win team that they were last season. And I think that this game just shows with a good barometer where exactly this Bengals team can go.
I mean, if you look at, if you look at what we did last year, when we were pretty much in the same type of position, except the Chargers had the ball coming towards us, and it was just like, make this stop. And I always felt in my heart of hearts that if we had won that game, it just changes so much. AJ Green wins the game-winning touchdown, and then you check that momentum and move with it forward. Winning this football game today is going to carry throughout the whole entire season. Even a person that's still super pessimistic had to be watching that game and saying, like, look, I know the Vikings are potentially like a playoff like team. When you start looking at those weapons, like when Justin Jefferson started to kick it in the rhythm, you started to appreciate, like, damn, like they've really done a really good job of containing him this whole entire game. Adam Thielen goes off. It takes him a while to get there. Like, it's so many different facets of this game that you could look at and say, like, there's no, like, Zach took him. The big thing that's going to happen is people are going to talk about Zach taking that 4th down chance, right? I hate to say woulda, coulda, shoulda, but at 21-7, stranglehold on the game. If they just punt the ball at that period right there, I don't think the Vikings even score like 10, 14 points the way that the defense was rolling. But it's just such an uphill battle, and he's going to have to take chances like that. When he takes chances like that, the play calling is going to be really important. I just thought that was super huge, and to me, like, dominating. Like, once they started kicking in the gear, my point is, like, once they started kicking in again, it's like they dominate. They're marginally better than the Vikings. Right. Like, marginally. Like, there's so much to be said about, like, the look at an undisciplined team with all the penalties, all the false starts. For them to come out there, Trey Hopkins coming fresh off a torn ACL, just getting the ball to Joe and snapping it correctly, and you look at it, you go all the way through 3 quarters, 1 penalty, 5 yards. Like, just that aspect of the game. It's very easy for people to pile on what didn't go right, but just look at that. Like, that's a good football team, and you won't lose a lot of football games just doing that or fumbling how Dalvin Cook did at the end of that game. Like, those are things in Bengals past that have come back to hit us to knock us out. I think they learned from a lot of stuff that they didn't do well today. It wasn't that much. Like, that game changed and swung on that 21-7, and you give them, like, that's a tough thing to come out of. Now the momentum has shifted. If you never given that mode, I think that's a complete blowout. And that is not a scrub football team. That's not a scrub football team.
I think for me, I'm going to go against, the majority of everyone that was like, why would you go for it in that position? You play to win the game. You got to be aggressive. Like, if you're playing a team and you really want to take the complete life out of them, and think about what was happening during that time, right? Joe Burrow throwing 50-yard bombs to Chase, them coming out of the third quarter and immediately going down and scoring. If you continue to do that, I feel like I would have been as confident as Zach Taylor was, given that time of how the offense was moving and picking up first downs. So I can understand why he did that and took that risk. And also the way that the defense was playing at the same time. Is it a risk? Of course it is. But isn't that why you got rid of Marvin Lewis? Didn't you want somebody that was going to come in and take risks and do things differently in order to win the game? Now, obviously, he trusted his offense. He trusted Joe Burrow and Joe Mixon.
He trusted his defense. He trusted his defense
to kind of go ahead and convert, and he trusted the defense as well. I mean, could it have been a crucial point in the game that could have turned it around? Obviously, it could have been. But who's to say after they punt the ball back to the Minnesota Vikings that Dalvin Cook doesn't go off for a 50-yard touchdown or anything like that? So, yes, I get why people were upset about the call. But at the end of the day, you play to win the game. When Andy Reid did the same thing against the Cleveland Browns with Chad Henne as his quarterback, and he ends up converting, then everybody lifts these guys up and say that, they're some of the smartest guys on the field. But when it goes wrong, you obviously get the criticism for it. But for me personally, I understand it because it's a mindset and it sends a message to the other team and to your own team that they can't stop us. We're going to get this first down. And it didn't work out, but look how the defense held up. Even though they end up getting the touchdown, they had to work for it. And that was from the 30-yard line. And they essentially had to wait until Mike Hilton gets beat on the very last opportunity for them to get the touchdown. So the defense still stood tall. Yeah. And me, honestly, I'm glad that, I don't want to say that we should continue to go for it from our 30-yard line. And I'm glad that Zach kind of had this teaching lesson to learn that, okay, now if I do this, this could happen. We could have potentially lost this game. But I do want him to, when you're playing the Chiefs or you're playing and you're trying to get these W's, go for the W. Don't go for the tie. Don't go for the safe thing always, because at the end of the day, your job is on the line. You got to get W. So I understood where his mindset was, but I also understand the people that are like, why would you do that? But at the end of the day, he ends up, winning this game. His team pretty much tried to put him back on his back to make it seem that he made the right decision in going for that. And you get things that happen, like you said, with the Dalvin Cook turnover at the end. But just imagine, are we really going to jump on a guy that had his team go out there and have one penalty the whole game, where the other guy had his guys give up 10 penalties and just almost a half? They play very disciplined. They play with their hair on fire. You got to give a shout out to this coaching staff for what they were able to do. Frank Pollock with the offensive line. They weren't perfect by any means, but most of the sacks that I saw, and I have to rewatch it, they were like blitzes from other players.
I was about to say two were just incorrect blitz pickups, and that's something you could clean up. I thought one or two of those were just Joe. One of them, I legitimately think he wished he threw it away. The other two, pressure in his face, probably would have been a disastrous situation for him to try to throw it away. So, to me, out of the 5 sacks, it was two legitimate sacks. There's too much pressure on them early on. They got to be better than that. I'm not saying that the offensive line was elite, but
definitely
anybody just paying attention to just 5 sacks, you didn't watch the game. Even for the run blocking, miles above whatever they had last year. I never saw a pushback like that at the line of scrimmage like that all year. That never happened, bro.
No, I'm with you. I mean, the blitz pickups, I can kind of get how that's confusing, because just think about it. He didn't know what Zimmer was throwing at him, right? Everything was vanilla in, for the most part, the preseason. So those were things that I felt like, those are going to be some kinks that you have to work out, because if he's showing looks and trying to confuse Burrow, which I think I've listened to some other podcasts, they said that's what Mike Zimmer tries to do. Those were things that they had to adjust to on the fly and stuff like that. So I don't put that on the offensive line. Like you said, defense played amazing, man. I mean, honestly, they were just in Kirk Cousins' faces and in the offensive line's heads for the Minnesota Vikings all game. I mean, you see all of those penalties that were called. I got to give a big shout out to the crowd, all of the fans in Cincinnati for going to PBS and keeping it loud. Let's continue that. Let's keep that energy going, because it clearly had an impact on this game with having 50,000 in the seats and them having so many false start penalties. But the defense, in my opinion, looked completely different. When you talk about just the ferocity that they were playing with the entire game, just the cleanliness, how clean it was, like you're really seeing Lou Anarumu's fits on this defense and how they were able to play. And I think that was a huge X factor in the game. And once those two worlds came together with the offense getting on page with the defense, because the defense was on page literally, in my opinion, the whole game. You had Eli Apple that really kind of messed them up on that one drive.
And I think Trey Waynes, bro, like I think
if we had Trey, oh my goodness.
I think in run support, the biggest thing about Trey Waynes is that he's not going to be the elite wide receiver. Corner. Adam Thielen maybe doesn't have the game that he has. Maybe he does. I don't know. Right. But in run support on Dalvin Cook, on a lot of those extra yards, like Dalvin Cook is a dog. Like the defense push up front was great. He made so many plays out of nothing today. My respect level for him just went like a whole nother inch or two higher. He made so many plays that I just sat there and I said, Trey Waynes in run support is something that cannot be like really like, don't put that under the table. That's a big step in this game. And for the most part, like I'm saying, like you're saying, every week it's going to be like this. It's going to be simple as that. We could all nitpick on the defense, this game giving up 24 points. We know how we got there. 21-7, Zach goes for it. Give them 7. Momentum shifts. They come back. Vikings come back. They're not scrubs. They come back. That's a good team. Right. Dalvin Cook runs for 68 yards. Pretty much
61 on 20 carries, 3.1.
Probably like there's like you could count on your hand, on one hand, that if Dalvin Cook runs in a football game 20 plus times, 9 times out of 10 he's getting 100 yards. I don't care who he plays.
Easily.
Like that, like that's just football guaranteed. I'm gonna simplify everything. We can nitpick all we want because I see comments like the defense hold anybody under 21 points on a weekly basis. I'm very rarely going to be attacking or telling you about the defense because I expect the offense to score a lot of points. That's just me. That's just my philosophy on how I feel like this should go. Mm-hmm. The biggest points in the game, especially the beginning of the game, and then you get into those big drives where it looked like, I mean, there was a drive on a third down when they actually did get to our side of the field. Defense comes up with another stop. The major stops in the game are going to be crucial for us, and the playmakers are there. Like Jesse Bates, like make no mistake about this. Nobody remembers the guy that stripped the ball from from Jeremy Hill fumbling the football in 2015. But you'll probably remember on our side, Jesse Bates strips the ball today. And I'll never forget that game is on the line. Like, and people talk about like, who are your leaders on defense? Do they step up in big moments? I remember Pratt coming up and making big plays today. I remember Hilton coming up and making big plays early in the game. Hendrickson did exactly what he had to do all game. He's not going to be the most elite force that's going to kill people, but he applied pressure all game. When Jesse Bates' time was to go win it and quarterback his team into a victory, he stripped that ball and he made the play that happened, and that's what good defenses do. The Kansas City Chiefs, the Buffalo Bills, and all these teams that scored, all the Final Four teams that were in the AFC and the NFC, Green Bay Packers, Buccaneers, Bills, and who's the other team in Kansas City? Those 4 teams scored 28 points a game. None of those defenses are elite. Tampa Bay being a lot higher than the rest of them. But when it matters the most, their big players make big plays at big time. You can sit there all you want and try to be like, well, they gave up points here and they gave up like Zach put them in a bad position And that's on Zach to, execute on that. I didn't like the play call on that 4th and 2, but it is what it is. He believed in the defense. The defense didn't hold up right there, but they came through. If you focus on the plays where, they gave up or it didn't go like what you thought it would, you would sit there all day nitpicking the game. But at the end of the day, keeping guys 21 points and under. They ended up with 24. I get it. They kicked the field goal at the end or whatever. But, let's not forget how they got those points. You gave them some points. So I thought the biggest difference in this game, this could have been a complete blowout last year. This year, you always thought that Joe had a chance. The only time that I feared for our team is when they started handing off the ball too much in the 4th quarter and overtime. When Joe Burrow had the ball and he was definitively throwing the football and they were in rhythm, Tyler Boyd on the end zone, Jamar Chase goes deep, comes back next drive. T. Higgins, all of these guys start coming in and it starts to happen. They cannot be stopped. When the only time that they were stopped is because Mixon's going for 5 yards a clip. They go conservative, just like they did at the beginning of the game, and they took the ball out of Joe Burrow's hands. I thought they did a great job of this. Joe Burrow has to be managed. He cannot be throwing for 30 plus times a game. I thought he was at 22 attempts at the end of the 4th quarter. He might have ended with 24, 25.
27.
27.
With 27, yeah.
And that's only because of overtime. He would have had 2 attempts or 3 attempts in overtime. That's what you're going to see from this team every single week. And when the plays are there to be made where Tyler Boyd or Jamar Chases have to be made, somebody like this dude is saying, oh, no, we got a gift. No, you're being super negative. That wasn't no gift.
That was not a gift.
That was not no gift.
That wasn't.
We outplayed. Yeah. Don't make me turn up in here. Don't make me turn up.
That wasn't a gift. So
that wasn't no gift. We turned out and we dominated them. What are you talking about? We outplayed them. We were more disciplined than them, and we dominated the football game. Towards the end of the game, the play caller was not where it's supposed to be. But ain't nobody handing us nothing. We went and got that. That's who that.
Nah, that's facts. I mean, let's touch on a couple of things there, because like you said, Joe Burrow throws 27 times. Kirk Cousins threw for almost 50 times in this game. Dalvin Cook had 60 yards. That's shutting down Dalvin Cook. If you were to come in and tell me that KJ Osborne would have more receiving yards and receptions than Justin Jefferson, I think that you would say that would be a job well done. Adam Thielen has 9 receptions for 92 yards and 2 touchdowns. That is okay, but it's not like he had 140 or 150. It's not like he really broke this game open. And then Justin Jefferson had 5 receptions for 71 yards. I mean, that's pretty good considering that those 2 guys, probably if you were coming into this game, you expected them to go off for maybe 200 yards combined with Eli Apple being on them. For them to be able to neutralize this offense of Minnesota, I think was very telling, especially when you got Gary Kubiak or his son over there as the offensive coordinator. It didn't seem like that the Bengals were the younger coaching staff. They came out with an amazing game plan. Joe Mixon runs for 127 yards and a touchdown, but you still get Jamar Chase 101 yards and a touchdown, five receptions, by the way. Doesn't look like he's dropping anything but touchdowns on people's heads. T. Higgins comes in. The MIGOS make their appearance, 4 receptions, 58 yards and a touchdown. You had some key catches by Tyler Boyd as well. Joe Mixon also made some catches out of the backfield. I mean, what else did you really want? Obviously, you want to win convincingly, but this is Quentin Spain. We talked to him last week. This is the NFL. Anything is possible. Anything can happen. Teams are too talented for it to just be a wide margin between any game. Even when I was looking around the league during the game, I saw that they had the Lions and the Cardinals on. The Cardinals were blowing the doors off of the Lions, and the Lions came back and I think only lost by like a touchdown or maybe 10 points. So at the end of the day, it's the NFL. I think this is a great win. I don't think, like, this is my thing too. The Bengals were a underdog coming into this game at home. So what are you talking about a gift? Like, the Bengals came out and played. They did their thing. Cheeto, I had to give him credit too. Like, Cheeto balled out, bro.
Bro, like, it's people saying like, oh yeah, we got lucky and stuff. Like, no, they got lucky that they were even in overtime with us. Like, are you serious? Like, dominated that game. When we were up 21-7, rolling them dudes.
Right. Fact.
The coach makes a questionable decision. People can debate that all they want. I'm with you. I think it's super unorthodox.
Nobody's gonna even know about this by week 5. Are you even gonna remember that Zach Taylor went for it
The
in the
people,
third.
the
A
people,
W, a win is a win.
the people
A win is
that
a
the
win.
people that want to do it and that have an agenda for Zach to not be good. Like I don't think Zach is anything, right? I don't think he's whatever. I think Joe Burrow, as he proved when we're going to get to the audible, Joe Burrow is going to give you the like. This is how the great like anybody that's in here that's a Bengal fan and you're watching this game and you're looking at this like you think Mike McCarthy did something for Aaron Rodgers. Like this is how they win games. This is how Tom Brady won that game on Thursday night. They're not out coaching and dominating and blowing teams out. Like when the game gets close, the only reason why you don't have a playoff victory is because you didn't have a number 9. When you get a number 9, everything changes. You always have a chance. The margin of winning and losing is super small in the NFL. Look at the scores. Why do you think that Vegas would say somebody's a 1.5 or 3-point underdog? Like there is, you don't see a spread of 20 points. Why do you think that you're gonna come out there and just blow the doors off of somebody? You got 21-7. I will tell you this. I thought that let me continue this quick point. Number 9 is the only difference between you not having a playoff win. It is that simple. Because number 9 will win you a game just like that. When we get to the wild card, when we play that game in the playoffs, he's going to win the game just like that. And the losers that don't want the Bengals to win are the only people that will come on and be like, oh, they shouldn't have been in the game. This is how NFL games are won. Them dudes get paid just like we do. The dude, we didn't get lucky. Jesse Bates is that guy. He made a play on that like he's supposed to. Evan McPherson is that guy. He hit from 53 like it was nothing. He is that guy. And on the flip side of it, the dude Joseph comes out there and nails his 53-yarder. Like you thought that was luck or something on there. Like that dude had to kick his ass to get on a roster and kick just like we do. They eat and they bleed just like us. So this idea that somebody got lucky or something, like no, we came out there. Hopkins, fresh off a torn ACL, had no bad exchanges. Disciplined football, blocked well. You gave up 5 sacks, but we went over the whole sacks. We could nitpick all we want, but all I'm saying is number 9 going to make those plays. When you go to the end of the game, when you win it, somebody said a win is a win. That's right, John Witt. When we lose last year to the Chargers, nobody goes back and talks about the dude pushing off. I mean, AJ Green, the BS call. They just say the Bengals lost. Right. That's it.
They don't say any of that. None of them wins where we were within, 3 points or 7. Nobody from outside of Cincinnati is sitting there being like, "Oh, the Bengals were in and they could have won this game." But this is what I'm gonna bring it back to.
You think we won 4? We won 4 games last year, and 7 of those games are within 1 point score. Do you think any of our opposition sit there and say, "Oh yeah, y'all should have won that, but they got lucky"? No, they just say y'all lost.
No, they just say that you're a 4-win team, and this here's
so
the
they
thing.
lost. They lost.
This is my thing too. We want to talk about Zach and the decision to go for it. Are we talking about Zach's play call on 4th and inches though? Can we talk about what an amazing call that was from Zach Taylor to call a play action pass that nobody saw coming to have CJ Uzomah wide open and pick up the first down that won the game? No, because you want to talk about something that he did at the beginning of the 3rd quarter. But if Marvin Lewis would have been there and ran it up the middle and we would have got punched and stopped, then what would you have said? Are you going to give Zach credit then? So my thing is this. If you're going to criticize him, then give him his credit for calling that play on 4th and inches. Because who called the play? Zach Taylor. Who had that play design? Zach Taylor. Zach Taylor, in a sense, with Joe Burrow, combined to win a game that you needed to win. And there's going to be games like that where when you go into overtime, you don't want to end with a tie like you did in Philly last year. So you do what you can to win the game. And that's what Joe Burrow, Zach Taylor, and the Bengals did today. And so for me, a win is a win. Yeah, you can talk about this and that. Like nobody gave you a chance before the kickoff of this game for the Bengals to win. Nobody did.
Like the Chiefs, I don't know what the score is on the Browns. Say they come back because Pat Mahomes gonna come back today. Do you think that anybody I'm gonna tell you this, I'm gonna tell you the truest thing ever. The people that have the most negative comments, I'm not trying to generalize you in the comment section, them people from Facebook. This is a different world out here. I just did a live with 800 people, and ain't not one person in my live talking about we lucky. A lot of them people in here, 1,000 people in Aces live. Ain't nobody saying it's lucky. That's that old school mentality that we threw out the window because
the Bengals don't have luck.
We don't have lucky. Like they say that when it's convenient to them. I'm gonna tell you another thing that they do. They talk bad about the front office all day, but yet you still rocking with orange and black, right? But then what happens? BJ Hill comes out there and gets 2 sacks. You won't even mention that. You won't even mention the fact that the front office actually moved a bum like Billy Price, came back with BJ Hill. He impacts a game week 1, gets 2 sacks. Are you going to commend him or bring that up, Mr. Facebook guy? You won't, because you know what I know. You know that you got a hidden agenda. We here to win, and we won this game, and we got it fair and square. They lucky that we allowed them back in there. Now, if you want to talk about how they got back in there, I hated the play calling in the fourth quarter. I thought it was atrocious. I thought that Zach Taylor was calling so much run stuff, and he had to get the ball in Joe Burrow's hands to throw the football at some point, and he failed to do that, and it allowed them to come back in. Just like at the beginning of the football game, I think, like I said, they're putting the onus on, we're not going to make Joe Burrow drop back 40 times a game this year. And I'm with it. And I've been preaching that all the time. We got to run the football, right?
Right.
At the end of these games, Tom Brady, even year 1, only threw for 3,000 yards. Like, with the pace, we could go back. We could go back to all of these greats. Drew Brees in their year 2s, year 3, or whatever. They're only asked to move the chains on third down, and they're only asked to make big plays when it happens. And what happens? Number 9 goes up to the line. He sees that they're going to stuff the quarterback sneak. Andy Dalton doesn't have enough hair on his nuts. The same dude that's talking about nitpicking, that's a Dalton lover probably. But he would have never audibled out of that, because the big time players make those plays when it matters the most. And that's how you do it.
And here's the thing.
That's how you do it.
Here's the thing. When you watch ESPN tomorrow, you know what you're not going to hear? Oh, Zach Taylor went for it on third down in the third. You know what they're showing right now on as I'm watching in the background on NFL Sunday Ticket? Do you know what highlight that they showed for the Bengals and the Vikings? They're showing the play call that we're talking about now, with Burrow making the play to Uzomah and Evan McPherson coming out for the field goal. Nobody is going to care what Zach did unless if we would have lost, then they would have talked about it. That's what they do in major media sports. When it doesn't pan out, then they talk about it.
Look at Mr. Facebook guy. That one mistake almost cost us the game, but it didn't.
It didn't.
And you got to go home and say you won. Are you mad that you barely won? Because all I know is we 1-0.
And I'm going to say another thing.
Are you mad, Jason?
I'm going to say another thing about
who are you with?
Because I was thrown off too by the run calls. But when you put it into perspective, Joe Burrow, the guy falls on his leg. He comes up limping. Everybody in Cincinnati is holding their breath. What do you think Zach Taylor is thinking? His job is on the line. If Joe Burrow is not 100% and his job is on the line, or if he lets him pass more times and he ends up messing up his knee, that is his job. So to be honest with you, at first I was wondering, I'm like, okay, is Joe good? Like, why are they not throwing the ball and this and that? But I think part of that is you just had a 300-pound man on his leg. He had to jump on the bike and make sure he kept it warm. They probably didn't want anything to swell up. Obviously, we'll have to see what it is. I don't know if it was an ankle or what it was, but I think that they were just being cautious, because at the end of the day, we all know if this goes to Brandon Allen, the season is over. I'm just going to be honest with you. Like, me and Zim, we're hardcore Bengals fans, but we're not crazy to say that you're going to win without Joe Burrow. So I get it.
What about Cam Newton? You going to pick up Cam?
It depends on what would happen. If Joe Burrow does get hurt, I think they would have to entertain that just to try to stay competitive. But as of now, you got to protect number 9. And sometimes it's protecting him from himself and doing things like that. Now, that was pretty risky because you're doing that in overtime with the game on the line, but it worked out. And, hopefully Joe is okay. And he tried to do what was best to keep Joe safe, because Joe was the franchise. Right.
I mean, I said that all off season. And I remember I was telling John Sharon, our boy, Cincy Juggle, shout out to John Sharon.
Shout out to John.
I had a tweet one time. I said, man, early in the season, they're going to have to rely on mixing heavy. He's got to run the football a lot, and they have to take the pressure off of win, lose, or draw. He immediately hit me and said, well, that goes against everything you wanted with Jamar Chase. I said, no, it doesn't. I'm not looking for year one of this project for us to be some air it out, score 50 points a game. I think you could get to 30 points a game predominantly running the football, because when it matters the most in your third down situations, you have guys that can win one-on-one. We saw that at key spots in the game when Jamar Chase gets it. The play before the bomb, he has a crucial third down catch. The play before the bomb, also, you get Tyler Boyd on the sideline. Those are the reasons why you want those weapons around you, so that when it matters the most, you have the playmakers to make it. You don't want to be like the Browns and get yourself in a situation where you're rolling, you're doing good, and then now games on the line, you're throwing to Donovan Peoples-Jones, or you're relying on guys that are lesser than. That's what the whole Jamar Chase is about. It's never about like I'm picking wide receiver over offensive line. Offensive line is always going to be like win in the trenches, as Ace has said so many times on this game. Just watching the game, like looking at it. Did y'all see the push? The defensive line throughout that game. Even on Dalvin Cook's positive yards, like he had a crucial third down conversion. Reader throws two dudes on the ground, has another guy, 2 pounds, stomping over. Dalvin Cook just cuts and goes around. I'm like, bro, but they are like just winning up front. It's only a matter of time where teams start to watch the tape on us and say, bro, we can't even really run on them like that. You held Dalvin Cook to 60-something yards like that. And so at the end of the day, we have to win the trenches. I think they did a lot. I think they just got healthy. You never saw Xavier Su'a-Filo last year. Quentin Spain was fresh off the hotel room. We interviewed him last week. He's just like, all right, going out there. And then the fans' expectations that, oh yeah, like that's a bad line. Like you gotta get some cohesion. Quentin Spain told us about like they're having dinners together. Like when Joe does his 1, 2, 3, they're yelling family now because they're trying to build up something. It just doesn't happen overnight like that. You know, like me and Ace were talking about the Buccaneers. People think that Tom Brady came to town and he just brought in all of these people. Do you know how many people Tom Brady and them brought in? 2 guys. The cohesion was already there. They already had the full team. Go look if you don't believe me. I didn't believe it. 2 guys that they brought in. They're trying to get the cohesion together, get the health together. Having week 1 to come in here and say, well, Joe got hit and stuff like that. This is football. If you don't want to see somebody get hit, I'm pretty sure there's a golf tournament down the street. Go watch that. This is a whole lot of orange out here this year. It's going to be hits. Joe Burrow might fall on the ground. I was scared. I'm like, damn, Joe, like, get up, bro. Like, I hope it's just tightness. Like, he's got to battle through some stuff, but it's up to the coaches. I thought Zach did a really good job at this. He cannot put himself in a position where Joe is just going back 40, 50 times. Kirk Cousins had to go back 40-something times because he's playing from behind. That's going to be one of the challenges for Zach, too. Say the Bengals go down. Do you just start throwing back? Because Joe is going to get hit. And so the game of the game is lessen the amount of dropbacks that this guy has in order to succeed. And I think they did a really good job of managing it. I just thought the play calling in the fourth quarter was super shoddy. Overtime, those first 2 drives were too conservative. But I get it. You know, it is what it is. You got the dub, but these are growing pains and learning, like things that we have to go through. Uno he might not have 100 yards next week. They might key in on him and say, you know what, we're not going to get beat over the top. Now Tyler Boyd goes off. Now we're going all underneath. That's what this is all about. Like you can't just say, okay, because somebody had a really, really good game here, and we're going to just pay attention to the bad or whatever. We're going to pay attention. Even if we win, we're going to pay attention to anything that didn't go our way. And if we lose, I'm going to still tell you about some of that good stuff. Had they lost that game, I was prepared to come on here and say, bro, we are winning up front. And that's a big step. But I knew we was going to win. Shout out to everybody that came to my man Ace's live. We was lit. I went over there for a second. I had my live. If y'all don't know, I do a live on IG. It is crazy. And if you ever want to meet somebody that believes, come hang with us. Yeah, y'all want to understand why you're a Bengals fan. Come with us. Week 4, we gonna be at the Jaguars game. We in there, and I don't doubt nothing. I got number 9. When I had number 14, I used to doubt everything. Like I was that guy. Number 9, I don't doubt it because win, lose, or draw, I know that he's going to put me in the right position. He's going to make the right play. And until you curve your mind to get like that, you're going to be sitting here talking about they could have easily longer. Like, yeah, everybody could easily lose every week. This is football. Where you been?
Right, and we should be celebrating this win. This is 1-0. We started off 1-0 in a game that we shouldn't, according to the experts in Vegas and all of that, we weren't even supposed to win. We got the W. Andy Dalton is coming next week. Let's talk about being 2-0. Let's talk about how much better this team is compared to what they were last year. Because one thing is for sure, two things are for certain. We were better than the Vikings. So when I saw that, we were better than the Vikings, and this was our first game. That team has been together for a while. So my eyes are on next week. Let's celebrate this W. Let's come together, keep supporting this team, keep filling the stands at Paul Brown Stadium. They're going to Chicago next week. If you can make it there, please be sure to show up and rep. And let's get this season going. We need the support. The players need the support. The team needs the support. So I'm not telling you to not have your opinions, but let's get behind this team, man, because it's been not much progress lately in the past couple of years, and now they're showing signs that could be turning the corner.
Jason Von Stein is he just wants to get my attention. I'm gonna find you every day I'm gonna get you. We're gonna convert you. Like, you're gonna hear this gospel. You ain't gonna be able to run for me because when the Bengals win, you're gonna see this ugly face all over the world. And I promise you, I'm gonna find you, Jason Von Stein. Like, we're gonna come get you. Because
we all about W's. We getting W's by any means necessary. Right. Just win. What did Al Davis say? Just win.
Just win. It's just 1 week. I get it, but there's something to build off of. I think that momentum from that game, it puts them in a position for the rest of the season where they know that if they got in a tight spot, bro, you could look to your brother and say, you know what? We did that before, and we came out of that and we got a dub in that joint. And I think as the season goes on, we're going to better a lot of different things. There's some things that I thought today, like Awuzie, like as much as we wanted William Jackson to stay, it's a new number 22 out there. He had to shadow. He had to shadow Justin Jefferson. Like, what? He had to shadow Justin Jefferson a whole football game.
Yes, sir.
And Justin Jefferson might have ended up because he caught another pass in overtime that got him down the field, but throughout 4 quarters, I mean, Justin Jefferson had 68 yards. It ain't too many teams that can say that. We talking about the offensive rookie of the year. This dude was all over him. Early in that game, stride for stride. They tried to go deep with Justin Jefferson. I done seen that a million times. The difference is Jamar Chase did it. And we got our points off that same play. Justin Jefferson did the same thing. Awuzie stops it. So that's what it is, bro. Like, I'm going to tell you, check out Ace on his platform on YouTube. He's gonna go live. We're gonna do this every Sunday. We're gonna do a recap every time too. Sometimes it might be on a Monday or whatever. Did you have any other closing thoughts, or did you have anything that you wanted to say?
Nah, just definitely be sure to watch the game if you can on Zim's Live at Zim_Hude on Instagram. Definitely be sure to get your whole lot of orange t-shirts. I had a couple of shirts today that sold for the Trace Migos, so you can get those on ZimHude.com. You can get the Trace Migos on NewStripeCity.com. Enjoy the W. We didn't get many of them last year, so cherish them and just know that there are big things ahead for this team. Also, shout out to Midwest Best Barbecue. Woo! They actually did a tailgate package that they actually have currently, so be sure to check them out. Get you some wings for the season. Go have your victory meal at Midwest Barbecue. Have your pregame, victory, whatever meal. Definitely hit them up. Get the wings. And we will be in town, like Zim said, week 4. But as usual, we have to end this with a yes, sirski.
Hello, world. What separated your deep ball from everybody else?
My deep ball, it has a little secret sauce to it, man.
Never get too high, never get too low, but just keep moving.
The whole story is Carlos never beat me in any kind of sports, and